Welcome to Source of Information, in English, Source of Information, in Creole, is Source Information. It is a pleasure to be here with you today, once again, to bring you information regarding Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security benefits, and a lot of other things. You could always reach me at 954-667-4885, 954-667-4885. But we will be taking call lines on the air on 305-945-1580, 305-945-1580. Wow. I am all pumped up today with the information that I'm about to share with you guys. So without further ado, we're going to get right to it without no delay. But we do want you to call so that you could participate in this. The discussion today is SSI. What is SSI, first of all? It's supplemental, Social Security supplemental income. That's the definition. That's what SSI is. To give you a background of SSI, it's a program that's created by the federal government. That program, it is indeed an entitlement program because you don't have to fund it. And what I mean by you as the taxpayers, wait 1 second. The taxpayers are fund those benefits. The recipient doesn't fund that benefit. So, and there's certain. We'll discuss eligibility in a little while. But with SSI, basically, first of all, you have to be 65 years or older. You have to be on disability or be on disability to receive SSI. One of the requirements that they have is that you have to be a U.S. citizen to be eligible to receive SSI. Any change that's being done in your household, you have to report it within 8 to 10 days. And it is originally what the lawmakers did was pass that benefits on to, or the responsibility to manage SSI was passed over to Social Security. So Social Security is responsible to administer, to make all the necessary payment and whatever else that needs to be done according to the law. One of the reasons that I wanted to discuss SSI today is because, earlier I had an interesting phone call which lasted quite some time, because sometimes when we're not hearing what we want to hear, we become adamant about it. So I feel it's necessary to bring that information and talk to you guys about SSI, and first of all, how you get it, and what comes to play for an individual. Let's go into into payments first of all. For an individual who's receiving SSI, that individual will receive I'll say around $914. This year, that amount was increased to $914 because of the adjustment they made for the cost of living. So they brought it to $914. At the same time, they increased the amount for couples. This might be a prank phone call, but we're going to try to take this. Hello, you on the air. Hello, you on the air.
Robert?
No, this is not Robert. You got the wrong number. $914 for an individual, but for a couple is $1,371. Okay, that is that. It doesn't mean that the husband is getting $1,371 and the wife is getting $1,371. No, what it means is that combined income that the household will receive is $1,371. Now, here's what's going to happen, because every time that your income increases, then the amount that you'll be receiving from food stamp, for example, will decrease. So we had a long conversation with this gentleman that called me earlier. Um, Before we continue, we encourage you to call 359-45-1580. 305-945-1580. So we encourage you to call right now with your question regarding SSI. If you have any question, if you want to call and speak Creole, I will take your call and translate it to for our English listeners. So we encourage you nevertheless to call 305-945-1580. 305-945-1580. And right now, you could watch us live on YouTube, WSRF 1580 AM. You could watch us live, and you will see. Oh, this shirt look familiar. You will see me live, and you could also send me a text 954-667-4885 with your question also. So either way, your question will not go unanswered. We will answer you live right now as you're listening to us. So so as that amount increase, especially when it is the household amount increase. Remember, if an individual is receiving it in a household, it's 914. But now, when you include a couple, so it's 1,300, 375. I said $371 a month for that household. So let's say hypothetically that you are receiving $281 in food stamp. Well, now that $281 will disappear, they will decrease that amount. The reason for because there's an increased income that's coming in the house now, in the household now. So in this case, you will receive a letter from DCF telling you that your food stamp amount will be decreased because of too much income in a household. Now, if you haven't received that letter and all of a sudden you see there's a cut in your social security in your food stamp, then you know the reason why. Now, let me give you another scenario. Here's the scenario, and this is exactly why this gentleman called. Apparently, he was getting $914, and his wife become eligible also to receive SSI. And so what they did is the wife received a first payment of $914. He was getting $914. And now what they did is they came back and reduced the amount from $914 to $600 or $600 and change. And reduced his also to $600 and change. So he's no longer receiving $914, but remember there's $1,371 that's coming in total in the household. So because of that, his was decreased. It is vital that you have that information. And here's the reason why. When something like that happened, if you don't have the information, or like he did, he called me, and I was able to explain it to him. Your other source of information is go directly to the main source, which is Social Security. Now, of course, Social Security, you're not going to get the answer as fast as you would get it if you call me. If you call me, I'll sit down and you'll get me right away on the phone, and I'll explain it to you. But if you go through Social Security, you got to set up an appointment. If you go there, because they're not operating the way they used to operate up until now. So it's going to take you some time for you to get that answer. But you have to be receptive to it, because there's no way about it. The law is the law. We cannot circumvent the law. The way it is set, we have to abide by it, because they tell you it's $1,371 set in stone. Individuals get $914. A couple is going to receive $1,371. You cannot exceed $2,000 of asset, and that's something we're going to get into as an individual, or $3,000 as a couple. Now, let's get into the part about asset. Remember, you could call a 954, excuse me, 305 945 1580, 305 945 1580. If you have any question for me, or en Creole, it's 305 945 1580, 305 945 1580. What we mean by assets, and I'll give you an example. There's a young lady that I was helping many years ago, and her situation was her parents left the siblings a piece of land, and it happened to be in Jamaica. The piece of land they left was divided in by 7 people. So technically, whatever the worth or the value of that land, once she told them that she has a land in Jamaica, well, it requested first of all to get some sort of documentation from Jamaica. And remember, the currency of Jamaica, the Jamaican currency, in comparison to the dollar currency, they have different values. So they have to write the letter and converted the Jamaican currency to the US dollar so they could come up with an accurate amount. It so happened that the amount they came when divided by 7, it had exceeded the $2,000. So automatically, she's no longer eligible to receive the SSI. Now, just think about it. And as she had told me at the time, that the land had no great value to them, because in the area that it's in, it's a very poor area. They can't sell the land. They have it's divided by 7, and the option was to really give the land or withdraw her name from the deed and give it to her siblings, and the sibling could pay her. But even if the sibling pay her the amount, let's say for example, if it was her portion was valued at $3,000, well then still she is basically exceed the amount of asset that she would need to qualify for SSI. Remember, SSI for an individual is $2,000. So those are the information that you have to be aware of if you're going to apply for SSI. Now, again, for SSI to be eligible, you have to be 65 years or older, or disability. You have to be disabled to be receiving it. In a lot of cases, what I've seen is young adults could get SSI because of their disability. And I guess that's a way of, instead of going directly to from their parents' benefits, if the parents is not receiving retirement benefits, then automatically they revert to SSI for those individuals. 305 945 1580, 305 945 1580. Let me hear from you right now with your questions. And I have answers for you. Even if it doesn't have anything to do with SSI, if you have a question about another subject that we had discussed in the past weeks, or you may have your own concerns, anything to do with retirement benefits, so feel free to call 305 945 1580, 305 945 1580. Call us now. At the same time, we're on live right now on Facebook also, so you could see us on Facebook. Share it. On YouTube, it's WSRF 1580 AM. Same thing for Facebook. and subscribe. When you go to YouTube, please subscribe, and so that you could have this information, you could have this anything about this show. Anytime we on air, we bringing you these information. You will have them directly. So please don't forget to subscribe. So we say in order for you to be eligible for SSI, you have to be age 65 years and older, and or you on disability. The other thing that SSI requires that you are a U.S. citizen. I remember when, and that's many years ago, when my grandmother was around, and when we moved here in 1972, I believe it was, my grandmother came as much older. She must have been in the 60s, something like that, when she came here. And shortly, not too long afterward, she was eligible to receive SSI. She was receiving SSI until the time that she passed. The interesting part at back then is that the requirement, I don't know, maybe SSI, it's a federal government benefits. So the federal government benefits, it applies across the United States. The same rules and regulation apply throughout for all the anyone that's applying. So the same rule apply for everyone. So at that time, we were living in New York, and she was able to get SSI. And after you get your SSI eligibility, you also become eligible to receive Medicare. So the state for Medicare, basically, of course, if you're also eligible to receive Medicaid and food stamp. So now the question of that benefit, who's paying for it? So a lot of cases, who's going to pay for it? The state is going to pay for the Part A premium and the Part B premium. So we're talking about $700 of benefits that's paying for that individual a month. So let's go back to entitlement. So when we're talking about entitlement, yes, SSI would be considered as an entitlement benefits, not Social Security benefits. And if you ask, what are the difference? Well, remember, Social Security, you have paid into it. SSI, you didn't pay into it. You don't have to pay into SSI. There's no requirement. This is something that's funded by the federal government. In other words, this is something that funded by the taxpayers. So when you hear politicians talking about entitlement benefits, yeah, most likely they're talking about SSI. So, yes, you're required to be 65 years and older. It requires that you are a U.S. citizen. And any changes that's being made in your household have to be reported within 8 to 10 days. And the other aspect is that you cannot leave the United States or its territory, be outside the United States or its territory for more than 30 days. I usually tell everyone 29 days. And the reason I tell you 29 days is simply because when you think of, if you go to Haiti, for example, and I had a lot of examples, people that went to Haiti, and when they got there, they decided, well, they're receiving the SSI money, they're not coming back. They're going to spend 3 months in Haiti. And what we find when that happens is that the 3 months you spend in Haiti, you've exceeded the 30 days that's required for you to the requirement that by law that you cannot exceed, which is the 30 days. So when that happens, and most likely, for example, you'll get a letter once a year for you to come to the office and be interviewed. And they will request that you bring a passport. And if there's any changes at that time, you could let them know that, for example, the rent has gone up, the electricity bill has gone up, the water bill has gone up. So at that time, during that interview, you could report that. And one of the things that they're going to actually let us see your passport. Well, guess why they're asking you for the passport? Simply so they could see if you have left the United States for an extended period of time. And at that time, what will happen is that if you did leave the United States for more than 30 days, then they will ask you to reimburse them for the total amount that they have paid you from the time that you left the United States up until the time you got caught, basically. So let me put it another way. Let's say, for example, in January 2022, you had decided to go to Haiti and spend 3 months in Haiti. And it is now July. And they call you for an interview. And you've already received a check for July. They say, well, you have an interview at the end of the month of July. So we're talking about 18 months. 19 months of checks. So if you multiply that by whatever the amount that you were receiving, it is far more exceed the amount that that you have paid. And don't forget, some of us that if you stay on, this Dr. Semmelus will be on hopefully the next hour. That was Dr. Semmelus calling me. So yes. So what will happen is that they will ask you to reimburse all that amount that they have paid you. Now, the way that usually works is simply, recently I saw that they have a new form of how they're going to make you pay. You either have a choice of pay with a credit card, and let's be honest with one another. Most of you guys that's paying, most of you guys that's on SSI, you guys don't have a credit card. And if you have a credit card, there's not that much on there. So that's not possible. Your only option now is what they're going to do is your next month payment, start taking that amount. Or you could go and negotiate with them. You could go and negotiate with them, and they will take, for example, if you're getting $914, let's talk about an individual. Then instead of you get $914, they'll say, well, we're going to take $200 a month. Or we'll take $300 a month until you paid the amount. Let's say, for example, the amount is about $6,000. Well, you figure if they're taking $300 a month, within 2 years you should be able to pay the $6,000 that you owe. Now, I come to you with that information and spend a lot of time on that because you wouldn't believe how many times that I've heard this story that there's somebody that decided, well, they went to Haiti, they didn't come back, and they continue to receive that amount on a monthly basis. But eventually, you will have to pay that money back. So that's one way of them taking it back. I remember there was a lady that I accompanied to the Social Security. That was a few years ago. And she made all the promises. She said, son, take me, go with me, and I'll join your center. And my policy is always, one, we don't accept any money from anyone that we're helping. Second of all, whatever service that's rendered to you, yes, we would love to have you come to our centers, but it is not an option. Of course, let's be honest. The whole idea of doing it is to for you to see the benefits and being a member of our center. Oh, by the way, this show is sponsored by Clidelia Management Services and CAMEX Medical Centers. So we thank both of them for bringing you this type of information and sponsor it. So we want to send our appreciation to the executive team in both companies for their involvement in source of information. So we thank them, and we will continue to bring that information to you. I want to take a quick break, and when we come back, we could talk more about SSI. And if you have a call, that'll be your opportunity to call 305-945-1580, 305-945-1580, or 305-945-1580. All right, so we'll talk in a little while. Bye. All right, we're back. Obviously, since we're live, there's a limit of how long we could stay off the air. I'm sure those of you that's on watching me live on Facebook, you guys don't just want to see me just look at my picture, but you want me to provide the information instead of watching me drinking coffee and not doing anything. So we are back. Yes. So we're going to continue talking about SSI. It's very important for you guys to have the information so that those mistakes you don't make, you don't allow your mom to make it, you don't allow your grandmother, your grandfather, or your father to make those mistakes. And unfortunately, some people in our generation, I say that unfortunately because a lot of you that's listening to me right now, some of you guys probably took a left turn instead of a right turn, and you find yourself in this situation right now. But even though you find yourself in this situation, thank God that you're able to receive this type of benefits. But I want you to know, so to have the information in case you may decide to take a trip, and before you take that trip, you have the information on how long that you could stay out of the country. And it's when you're receiving the money, it's all nice and good. But the problem is when you have to return the money. Because the letter will start something like this. Dear John Doe, we have overpaid you. And as soon as he overpaid, you said, "Wait a minute, how did they overpay me? They were paying me $914. That's how much I'm supposed to receive. How did they overpay me?" Well, once you continue reading that letter, they'll explain to you in about the third page, which is something I saw earlier. It'll say you were out of the country from this date, this date. Like the example I gave you from January 2022 up until January 2023. Or basically, you were out of the country from this date to this date, and you've received X amount of payment. So this is the amount that you have to return. And at that point, they will stop sending you deposit a check for you on a monthly basis, because it's either they take the whole amount and you're receiving nothing, and now that's when the panic sets in, because now you're depending on that money for you to pay rent, for you to pay the telephone bill, the water bill, the electricity, and you have nothing. And you're going to panic. So before that happens, take heed to the information that I'm providing you. Do your best not to be in that situation. Now, there's a solution before you get there. If, for example, you decided, well, you're going to Haiti. You're going to take a trip to Haiti, and there's a good possibility that you're going to be spending over a month in Haiti. Well, a couple of months before you go down to Haiti, now, I would not do it on the phone. Yes, the easy way, even the phone is not easy, because when you get on the phone with them, you got to wait a long time. It's a whole process. So, one, for that reason, I would not do it on the phone. Two, the second reason is you want to have something that you have a document in your hand stated that I was here, and ask them to stop the benefits. So you will go to the Social Security and ask them to stop the benefits for that particular period of time, because you're going to Haiti. You could give them any excuse that you want, but you're going to Haiti, and they ask them to stop the SSI benefits for the time being. So what's going to happen, they're going to stop. They will not send you any check. And when you get back, you could go back to the Social Security office and say, well, I am back. Can we restart my benefits? That would avoid a lot of headaches. Yes, you're going to miss a couple of payments, but you'll just miss a couple of payments, not having to pay any payments back. 305-945-1580, 305-945-1580. If I say this number a few more times in English, then I'll be able to retain it and be as comfortable as I am giving it to you in Creole. So 305-945-1580, 305-945-1580. I'd like to hear from you guys. What do you guys think about the information that you're receiving? If you have a parent or friend or family member that's receiving SSI, I want you to share that information with them. And sometimes you may have to be adamant about it, because if they're going away, you have to remind them and say, listen, you cannot spend more than 30 days outside the United States or its territories. So, again, you could go on vacation and go to Puerto Rico, for example, and spend 2 years in Puerto Rico. You will not be penalized. I said Puerto Rico, because Puerto Rico is considered part of the territory of the United States. You could go to Guam. Same thing with Guam. You could go to Hawaii. They still consider a territory of the United States. So therefore, you will not be penalized. However, when you start going to Haiti, Dominican Republic, anything that's not part of the territory of the United States, you will be penalized. 305 945 1580. 305 945 1580. Call me right now. Call me right now with your questions. I would like to hear from you. I know a lot of you are listening, and some of you have told me, well, it's in English, and that's why we're not calling. But I do want to hear from you. And you could say, practice your English. Call. You know, we decided to come with this type of show so that this information we could share it with our English listeners also, because they are very thirsty of that information. You guys in the Haitian community down South Florida, you're fortunate the fact that you are able to get those type of information, so you could make a better decision on when you're going to retire, and whether you'll be eligible for SSI. On the other note, do you know that even though you're receiving retirement benefits, you might be eligible to receive SSI also? Let's talk a little bit about that. If you're receiving less than $914 a month from your retirement benefits, let's say, for example, you're receiving $700 from your retirement benefits. Obviously, you didn't work sufficient amount for you to get a higher amount on a monthly basis. Well, you could apply for SSI, provided that you're 65 years or older and you are a U.S. citizen. Then again, remember the word of SSI, Social Security Supplemental Income. So there, it will definitely be a supplemental income for you, because with the way it's going to happen, you're going to receive. They're going to make 2 deposits for you on a monthly basis. They will make a deposit for I don't recall which one that will come first. Probably it's based on your last name. When they deposit the money for you for the Social Security. So you will receive one check for the Social Security. It'll say SSA, SSA. That's from the retirement benefits, and you receive a second check that says SSI. On the same month, you receive two different deposits. Let's say, for example, like the example we said earlier, $700 you're receiving from retirement benefits, then you will receive an additional $200 or $214, so that it could get you up to $914 a month. 305-945-1580, 305-945-1580 is the number to call, so that if you have any questions for me, we could answer you live on the air. So let me hear from you guys. 305-945-1580. Yeah, so you received two deposit, different date each month. That would be equal to about $914. I said about, because there's other thing that they will take into consideration when it comes to SSI. If you have life insurance that is a whole life, not a term. What's the difference? Whole life has cash value. A term policy does not have term value. Cash value, excuse me. So if you have a whole life policy and it has a cash value of $500, for example. Well, they will reduce your SSI benefits because they will feel that you could always go and borrow 500, take out that $500. So your assets value has increased because of that. So the amount that you'll be receiving from SSI will decrease also. If you tell them, for example, you have a piece of land, they will take that into consideration and get an estimate on how much it is, then you may not be eligible to receive SSI. So there are certain things they take into consideration. And most likely, if you have a life insurance policy, they will ask you to bring the policy so they can make a copy of it and put it in your record. And you have to be very careful. Remember, once you go into Social Security, any information that you provide, they're there for life. So that's why we're always, and when you're dealing with the federal government, you make sure that you cross your I's and dot your T's so that nothing comes back to you. I've been doing this for about 18 years now, and I'm always dumbfounded. And when I said 18 years, because the times, I can't say it went by fast, but throughout the time there was a lot of trial and errors happened. So, but it realized that 18 years is a long time. I've heard a lot of things. I've heard a lot of stories, and a lot of people's experiences I share with them, and at one point, even go to the point of going to the Social Security office with them and trying to see how we could reduce the payment that they have to pay back, file for an appeal, because that's one of the options that they give you. You could always file an appeal if you disagree with their decision. So that will come in the letter that they send you and said, if you disagree with the decision, you could file an appeal, and here's the process. And there's a whole lot of questions that comes along with it. How much you could afford. I've gone to the point where we've reduced the amount that they're taking about to about $25, and basically let them know that this is going to cause you a lot of hardship if they were to take $200 a month. And anybody that's an SSI that's receiving at the time was receiving roughly about $600. If you're receiving $600 and $200 comes off of it, then you're left with $400. There's not much you could do. 305-945-1580, 305-945-1580, 305 945 15 80, 305 945 15 80. So, yes, you could be receiving SSI and retirement benefits at the same time if you are eligible for it. And as an individual, you will be receiving 914. Well, no, sorry. As an individual, whatever the difference is from what you're receiving from Social Security, you will be receiving the difference from that. Now, as a couple, here's the trick. As a couple, remember, as a couple is $1,371. So they will calculate, most likely, if as a couple, well, let's say both of you guys came up here at the same time, and both $700 apiece, then now you're no longer eligible to receive SSI, because if you do 700 plus 700 is 1,400. So you pass that 1,371 limit. So there's different things to take into consideration regarding that. Bear in mind that The numbers to keep in mind is 914 and $1,371 because those amount, one is for an individual and the other one is for a couple. And bear in mind that the asset amount is $2,000 for an individual and $3,000 for a couple. 305-945-1580, 305-945-1580. Those of you that's watching us live on YouTube and Facebook, thank you. Don't forget to subscribe. And what I will do is, actually, I'm going to try to see if I could share it with, no, I'll go back and later on I'll share it with some of you guys on Facebook and so that you could have that information for your family members or friend that you know that's going through a hard time and is reaching that time of retirement. They're set to retire and they're going to receive less than $914. Then that's an option for them. If you know and someone that's on disability, again, same thing could apply for disability. Because remember, those that are on those that are disabled, then those benefits they could get SSI. They're eligible for SSI. The fact that they are on disability. There's, that information is vital. So we encourage you to share it. The information is brought to you, not for you to hold on to it, but you have to share it with a friend, a family member, and that's why I will share this with you. I will make sure that before I even get in the car to head back up, I will share that information with you so you could have it and go back to it and listen to it. I highly recommend that you have it somewhere, and so when you need it, you never know when you're going to need it. You could always go back and use it as a source of reference so you could apply for the benefits. By the way, any other benefits you could go online and apply for except for SSI. SSI, you have to call Social Security office. They will set up an appointment with you, and they'll do an interview with you online, on the phone, rather. Sorry, they'll do an interview with you on the phone, and then they'll write you and let you know whether you're eligible or not. Once you're eligible for SSI, depending on for both a person that's on disability and somebody that's on retirement benefits or retirement benefit age, you automatically become eligible to receive Medicare. Remember, Medicare now is going to be funded by your SSI program. Or the state will basically pay for it for you. So you will be able to receive Medicare right away. And as usual, we will always advise you to put a Medicare Advantage plan with it. I don't know if you're in different states. I think the other state, they have a Medicare Advantage plan. And some people may not be aware of it, but they do have it. And we suggest that you always, if you're on Medicare, put a Medicare Advantage plan along with your Medicare. Because Medicare by itself covers you 80%. The other 20%, you're responsible for it if you don't have a Medicare Advantage plan. And the Medicare Advantage plan does not cost you a dime. 305-945-1580, 305-945-1580. I don't think we have much time to get a call right now because we only have, I think we have 1 minute left. So we could transition or better yet, we could get prepared for the next hour. So yes, make sure that Now you become eligible for Medicare. Put a Medicare Advantage plan with it. The Medicare Advantage plan is not costing you anything, and there's a lot other benefits that becomes available to you also. Listen, for more information, you could always reach me at 954-667-4885, 954-667-4885. For more information regarding that, you could always reach me. Listen, I'd rather, once you're going to make that decision whether to apply or not, you call me. Get all the information necessary so that the mistakes that a lot of other folks have made, that you're not going to make that type of mistake. The fact that you have the information. I'm not going to charge you for the call. The call is free. The information is free, to you at least. But again, this show was sponsored by CAMEX Medical Centers and Cladelia Management. It was a pleasure for me to be here with you today. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, WSRF 1580 AM. Subscribe, and I will see you next week, same time. Don't miss it, because we'll be talking about a different subject. Well, again, it's an honor to be here with you. Bye-bye.